Anyone who has worked retail long enough learns to read the signs before customers notice. Reorder quantities drop to zero, shelf tags get pulled, and items quietly vanish from planograms months before they disappear for good. 8 categories relevant to any survival stockpile are already in that pipeline. Number 1. Red dye. Number 3. Products. The FDA announced in January 2025 that FD&C Red Number 3, a synthetic dye used for decades in thousands of brightly colored candies, baked goods, and snack items, will be banned from food products nationwide, with manufacturers given until January 2027 to fully reformulate or discontinue affected products. The dye has been linked in animal studies to cancer at high doses, which is the basis the FDA cited after the substance remained approved for food for years despite already being banned in cosmetics since 1990. For anyone maintaining a survival stockpile, brightly colored hard candies, fruit snacks, and certain shelf-stable baked goods represent meaningful morale items that provide a psychological boost during an extended, stressful situation. And many of the specific products people have relied on for years are either being quietly reformulated with different colorants that may affect taste and shelf life, or discontinued outright. Checking ingredient labels now and stocking items still made with the original formulation is worth doing before the 2027 deadline forces every manufacturer to make these decisions across entire product lines simultaneously. The window between now and full compliance is the narrow stretch where both old and new formulations may briefly coexist on shelves, which makes this the only practical opportunity to compare them directly. Anyone with a favorite product in this category should buy a few extra units this month rather than waiting. Number 2, drinks containing brominated vegetable oil. The FDA revoked its approval for brominated vegetable oil, commonly known as BVO, as a food additive in 2024. Giving manufacturers a compliance window to remove it from any remaining products. BVO had historically been used in some citrus-flavored sodas to keep the flavoring oils evenly distributed throughout the beverage rather than separating and floating to the top. The compound had already been phased out of most major beverage brands over the prior decade due to consumer pressure and state-level restrictions, including California's ban that takes full effect in 2027, but smaller regional brands and certain bottler-specific formulations had continued using it. For survival stockpiles, caffeinated and electrolyte-containing beverages serve a genuine functional purpose beyond hydration, providing alertness during sleep deprivation and a sugar and sodium boost during physical exertion. And any remaining BVO formulated products on shelves now represent inventory that will not be restocked once current supplies sell through, making this a narrow window for anyone who has specifically relied on these formulations. Beverages are heavy relative to their caloric value, which is why most stockpiles limit liquid weight. But for the specific products that contain BVO, remaining shelf inventory at any given store is finite. A 6-pack or 2 purchased now, set aside and rotated like any other stockpiled beverage costs very little for the certainty it provides. Number 3, incandescent and halogen bulbs. The Department of Energy's lighting efficiency standards became fully effective in August 2023, prohibiting the manufacture and import of standard incandescent and halogen general service bulbs that do not meet minimum lumens per watt requirements, which effectively ended new production of the traditional incandescent bulbs that have lit homes for over a century. While LED bulbs have clear advantages in efficiency and lifespan under normal conditions, incandescent bulbs have one characteristic that matters specifically for survival applications. They produce light through a simple resistive filament that functions across a wider range of voltage and current conditions, including some improvised and low-quality power sources, where sensitive LED driver circuits can fail or behave unpredictably. Older incandescent bulbs for specialty applications, including some emergency lanterns and battery-powered fixtures, are becoming harder to find as retailers clear remaining inventory, and anyone with equipment designed around incandescent bulbs should identify compatible LED replacements, now rather than after the bulbs currently on the shelf are gone for good. A small stock of replacement bulbs purchased now while clearance pricing on remaining inventory is common represents meaningful insurance against equipment becoming permanently unusable once the current bulb finally burns out. This applies equally to headlamps, lanterns, and any battery-powered fixture in a kit that was purchased before LED became the default. Number 4. oral phenylephrine decongestants. An FDA advisory committee concluded in September 2023 that oral phenylephrine, the active ingredient in many over-the-counter decongestants marketed as non-drowsy alternatives to pseudoephedrine, is not effective at the doses used in these products because it is broken down too extensively in the digestive system before it can reach the bloodstream in meaningful concentrations. While the FDA has not yet finalized a formal removal order, multiple manufacturers have already begun reformulating or discontinuing phenylephrine-based products in anticipation of regulatory action, and pharmacy chains have started reducing shelf space allocated to these products. For a medical stockpile, an ineffective decongestant is worse than no decongestant at all because it creates a false sense of having addressed the problem. Pseudoephedrine-based products, which remain effective but are kept behind the pharmacy counter and require identification to purchase due to their use in methamphetamine production, represent the verified effective alternative. And building a stockpile of these now before further shelf space reductions occur is worth the additional purchase step involved. Building a rotation of this genuinely effective medication into a medical stockpile now means not discovering during an actual illness that the convenient option in the cabinet does not work at all. A small supply, purchased and stored properly, away from heat and humidity, maintains potency for years and closes a real gap in most kits. Number 5, NICD rechargeable battery packs. Nickel-cadmium batteries, commonly called NICD batteries, have been used for decades in rechargeable battery packs for two-way radios, emergency lighting, and power tools because of their ability to deliver high current and tolerate a wide temperature range. Cadmium is a toxic heavy metal, and increasingly strict battery disposal and recycling regulations at both the state and international level have pushed manufacturers toward nickel, metal hydride, and lithium-based chemistries that do not carry the same disposal restrictions, leading major battery manufacturers to discontinue NICD production for consumer applications over the past several years. Equipment designed around NICD battery packs, including many older two-way radios and emergency lighting systems that remain in active use in prepper inventories, faces a growing problem of replacement battery availability as remaining NICD stock depletes and is not replenished. Identifying whether critical equipment can accept nickel metal hydride replacements, which often fit the same physical battery compartments, or whether the equipment itself needs replacement, is worth doing while NICD replacements are still findable rather than after they are gone entirely. A radio with a dead battery pack and no available replacement becomes a paperweight regardless of how well designed the radio itself is, and that gap can take years to become obvious to most owners. Checking the battery compartment of every radio and light in a kit now is a 5-minute task worth doing today. Number 6. Mercury glass thermometers. Mercury fever thermometers, the traditional glass thermometers containing a small amount of liquid mercury, have been banned from retail sale in a majority of U.S. states over the past 2 decades due to mercury's toxicity and the environmental hazard posed by broken thermometers. While digital thermometers have become the standard replacement and are generally more convenient, they share a critical vulnerability that mercury thermometers do not. They require batteries to function. A mercury thermometer works indefinitely with no power source and no moving parts beyond the liquid mercury itself, making it one of the few pieces of medical equipment that genuinely never fails as long as the glass remains intact. For a long-term medical stockpile, having at least one mercury or mercury-free liquid in glass thermometer as a backup to digital thermometers addresses the single point of failure that battery-dependent medical equipment creates. And remaining stock of these thermometers in states where they are still legal to sell represents inventory that will not be replenished once current supplies are exhausted. The trade-off of accepting that small breakage risk in exchange for a thermometer that still functions accurately decades from now with zero battery dependency is one many preparedness planners consider worthwhile. Pairing a backup glass thermometer with the digital ones already in a kit costs only a few dollars and adds genuine redundancy. Number 7, older trans fat-free reformulated snacks. The FDA's ban on partially hydrogenated oils, the primary source of artificial trans fats in processed food, was finalized with full compliance required by 2020, which means the reformulation of shelf-stable baked goods, crackers, and snack foods that relied on partially hydrogenated oils for extended shelf life has already largely happened. The relevance to survival stockpiles now is less about the ban itself and more about its lasting effect. The replacement oils used in reformulated products generally have shorter oxidative stability than partially hydrogenated oils did, meaning many shelf-stable snack products manufactured today have genuinely shorter practical shelf lives than older formulations of the same products did, even when the printed expiration dates look similar. Rotating shelf-stable snack food stockpiles more frequently than label dates alone would suggest, and checking products for off flavors indicating oxidized fat well before the printed date has become more important as a direct consequence of a regulatory change that most people assumed only affected health, not storage life. Periodically reviewing whether older assumptions about shelf life for specific product categories still hold true under current formulations is worth doing across an entire stockpile rather than assuming nothing has changed. A quick check of expiration dates and a sniff test on older snack stock takes only minutes during a normal pantry rotation. Number 8. Aspartame-sweetened diet products. The World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer classified aspartame as possibly carcinogenic to humans in July 2023. A classification that, while controversial and contested by other health agencies, including the FDA, which maintained its existing safety determination, has prompted several manufacturers of diet beverages and sugar-free drink mixes to begin reformulating products with alternative sweeteners, including sucralose and stevia derivatives. For anyone managing diabetes or blood sugar concerns within a survival stockpile context, sugar-free drink mixes and beverages represent an important category for maintaining hydration without the blood sugar impact of sugared alternatives, and a reformulation means the specific product someone has relied on and tested for taste and tolerance may not be the same product available next year. Identifying whether a stockpiled diet product has already been reformulated, and if not, whether the current formulation is worth stocking in larger quantity before a reformulation changes the sweetener profile is a practical step for anyone whose stockpile needs to account for dietary medical requirements. Manufacturer responses to public perception happen regardless of whether the underlying science is settled, which means the products on shelves today may not match what is on shelves next year at all. Anyone managing a medical condition through stockpiled food should treat label changes as a prompt to retest tolerance, not just restock the same item. None of these 8 items are dramatic headline news, which is exactly why almost nobody is paying attention to them. Each represents a regulatory or scientific development already in motion, quietly reshaping what will and will not be on shelves within the next year or two.